Hey guys, hope you are doing well. Here we have a grade 12 Maths Literacy Paper 1 exam written in June 2023, 100 marks, and shouldn't take you longer than 2 hours. If you would like a copy of the paper so you can follow along with me, just check the description below. 200 grade 10 and 11 learners planned to go on a tour to Durban. 6.5% less learners eventually went to Durban. Okay, so let's just get that straight. 200 grade 10 and 11 learners, okay? So it doesn't mean 200 grade 10 and 200 grade 11. It means 200 altogether. Well, at least that's what I think. It could be misinterpreted, but I definitely think it's 200 altogether, okay? Planned to go on a tour to Durban. 6.5% less learners eventually went to Durban. What does that even mean? Well, there were 200 learners, right? 200 learners originally. But then that's how many learners were supposed to go. They are the ones who planned. But maybe something happened. Maybe some of them had to go away, or maybe some of them could not afford to go on this trip. There could have been various things that happened. But 6.5% could not make it. Okay, so it says 6.5% less learners. Okay, so it says the first question, write 6.5% as a simplified common fraction. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to know that 6.5% is the same as 6.5 out of 100. Okay, now, because it's only 2 marks, you could literally go and type this on your calculator now, and it will simplify it for you. If you had to do that, you would end up with 13 over 200. Okay, so there is your answer, 13 over 200. Next question, determine the number of learners who went on the tour. Now, there's many ways that you could do this one. You could say, let's take this away quickly. So what you could do is you could, okay, here's the first option. You could say, what is 6.5% of 200? Okay, and then remember that of means multiply. If you type this, if you type 6.5% in your calculator, then it's actually 0.065 multiplied by 200. Go ahead, calculate that. And that'll be 13. Now, those are the people, are they the people that did go on the tour? Or are they the people who cancelled? They are the people who cancelled. It says 6.5% less learners eventually went. Okay? So these people could not make it. So how many people actually went on tour? You could say 200, take away 13, and that would be 187 learners. The other way you could have done it is you could have said, okay, if 100% of the learners gave us 200, then if you say 100% and you take away 6.5%, well, that'll give you 93.5%. So there's still 93.5% of the learners. So you could say, what is 93.5% of 200? And then if you type this on your calculator with the percentage sign, it'll be 0.935, and then multiply that by 200, and that'll give you 187. And it's exactly what we got over there. Okay. This question says, express the number of learners who went and the number of learners who planned as a, so you got to read this one carefully, as a simplified ratio. So it's not saying the 13 and the 187. That's what your mind, or that's what my mind jumped to automatically. But they said, express the number of learners who went on the tour. Okay, so that's 187. And the number of learners who planned, or how many planned? 200 planned. There we go. Now, normally we would try to simplify this as far as possible. They even said over here, simplified, but you cannot simplify that any further. There is no number that can go into this one and this one at the same time. So we will leave that as our answer, 1872, 200. This question, write down the probability as a percentage of randomly selecting learners who did not go on tour. So remember, probability is always going to be over the total. Okay, so we're going to say over, and the total is 200 people. Now, what goes at the top over here? Well, we got to look at what they want. Write down the probability of selecting learners who did not go, okay? So how many people did not go? That was 13. So you're going to say 13. Now, you could leave it like that if they wanted it as a fraction, but because they want it as a percentage, you're going to multiply by 100, and then you're going to get 6.5%. But that shouldn't surprise us because we already had it as 6.5%. That's a bit of a silly question. I don't understand. David was born in February 1998, and Sam was born in March 1993. Their father shared that amount of money in the ratio of their ages before he died in 2023. The first question says, write down David and Sam's ages in April of 2023. Okay, let's start with David. So David was born in February of 1998. So let's quickly take him to February of 2023. Well, that would put him at 25 years old. Okay, you might just need to think about that for yourself, but he's 25 years old, and so that would be in February, but because we are in April, that means he's had his birthday, and so he is 25 years old. Now, Sam was born in March 1993. That's actually my birth year. 1993. So 1993, and if we go to March of 2023, that would be 30 years old. Now, if it's April, well, that person's already had their birthday, and so we don't have to worry about have they had their birthday or not, because it's already April. Okay, so that is how old these guys are. Now it says write down, okay, so we've done that. This question says calculate the amount that Sam and David will each receive. Okay, so forget about this. Can you remember how to divide a number into ratios? For example, if I take the number 12 and I divide it into 3 people, Adam, Busi, and Calvin. All right, and let's say that Adam is going to get the ratio of 6, Busi is going to get a ratio of 4, and Calvin's going to get a ratio of 2. Actually, let's simplify that. 3 to 2 to 1, for example. Then how do we say how much this person gets, how much this person gets, and how much this person gets? Well, you take this number and you divide that number by, or maybe let's write divide by all of these numbers added together. So 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6, and that'll give you 2. So that number there, you then multiply. So for A, you would say 2 multiplied by 3. For B, you would say 2 multiplied by 2, which is 4. And then for C, you would multiply 2 multiplied by 1, and that would give you 2. So that means that this person will get 6 out of the 12. This person, Busi, would get 4 out of the 12. And this person, Calvin, would get 2 out of the 12 parts. Okay? So we need to know the total number. And so that would be this number over here. And then you need to then be able to add these numbers together. So the way that it would work in this example is we are going to have 409,750 Rand being split up for David and Sam. Now David, so they get split up in the ratio of their ages. So David, 25, Sam, 30. If you add these two numbers together, that would be 55. Okay, so we'll say 25 plus 30 is 55. And then we're going to go 409,750 divided by 55. Just like in the previous example I showed you, we said 12 divided by 6. And if we work that out, we get 7,450 Rand. Okay, so now for David, you're going to say 7,450 multiplied by his part, 25. And that'll give us 186,000 Rand, or 186,250. Now, to work out Sam, you could also use the same technique, or you could just take this number minus whatever David gets. Okay, but I'm going to stick to the normal approach. I'm going to say 7,450 multiplied by 30, and that'll be 223,500 Rand. Now, you could also add these two numbers together just to make sure that they do add up to the original, because that would mean that you've probably done this correctly. So I'm going to quickly add them together here on my calculator quickly. Plus 223,500. Yes, it gives us exactly 409,750, so we can be confident that we've done this correctly. Amanda bought 15 packets of 2.5 kilogram White Star Super Maize Meal. Okay, White Star Super Maize Meal as a part of a gift for needy families. One of the packets cost 38 Rand 99. Use the above information to answer the questions that follow. Write down the VAT acronym in full. Okay, so what they're saying is, what does VAT actually mean? So VAT means value added tax. Okay, done. Next question, write down the amount of VAT. Now, before you go and calculate and do all of your VAT calculations, you need to remember that there are certain items that we need to know about that don't get VAT. Things like bread, fruit. There's a whole list of things that we need to know, but certain items don't get VAT, and one of those is maize meal. Okay, maize meal is a zero VAT item, and so here we have maize meal. So we are going to pay 0 VAT. Then this last one says, calculate the total amount that she paid for the above items. Well, she bought 15 packets, okay, and each packet is that amount over there. So you're just going to say 38.99 multiplied by 15. You could also say 38.99 plus 38.99 plus 38.99 plus 38.99. How many times would you do that? 15 times. Well, that is what times actually means. It just means this number. How many times? 15. That's what multiplication actually is. Some of you are like, what? This guy times 15. Okay, and so that's going to be 584.85 Rand. So with this question, I know that you can't see everything very clearly. Some of you might be able to, but for some it might be a bit fuzzy or whatever. But we are going to split the questions up. I just wanted you to see everything, but we are going to split it up like that. You see, it's going to look a lot nicer over there, over there, over there, and over there. Okay, so 5 questions in total. So here we begin. So it says that Lection approached 2 car rental companies. Okay, so that's the person's name. Interesting name. Lection approached 2 car rental companies to look for a specific car to rent for 3 days. That because he wants to visit his brother, who's called Touch, in Jeffreys Bay. So Lection is going to visit Touch, and so Lection needs to find a car. So he goes to 2 different companies, Company A and Company B, and he's obviously going to try to see which company is cheaper, for example. Okay, so the first question says, write down the amount that he will pay for excess charges. Okay, now excess charges, let me just tell you what they are, just so you have an idea. So, for example, I went to visit my mom in Durban last year. So that was in 2022. So I don't know, you could be watching this in it could be in future time. I don't know. But yeah, in 2022, me and my brother, we took a flight from Cape Town to Durban, where my mom lives. And when we landed, we needed to get ourselves a car. We needed to rent a car. So what they will do is they will tell you, first of all, they're going to ask you for a deposit. Okay, that's this one over here. So they're going to ask you to give them 18,650 Rand, and they will give that back to you when you come back and the car is in good condition and nothing has gone wrong. But if you decide to steal the car, or if something goes wrong or whatever, then they might not give you all of this money back. They might use some of it to help them, like to try fix the car or whatever. So it makes them feel a little bit safer, because you could just steal the car, but by paying the 18,000 Rand, they have a less chance of things going wrong, for example. Okay? I mean, of course things can go wrong, but there's a less chance. So that's the first thing that you have to pay. They will give it back to you when you get back. So that's not money that you're actually spending. They will give it back. The other one is called an excess charge. Now this, you don't actually pay anything on the day that you take the car. The excess, you can ask your parents if they have car insurance. You can ask them what excess is, but what it is let's say you have a car accident. Okay, let's say you go rent someone's car and you crash the car. Now, let's say that the crash total comes up to 70,000 Rand. That's to fix the car and all of that. You are not going to have to pay 70,000 Rand, thankfully, because of things called insurance. The insurance company will pay at that 70,000, or they'll pay out most of it, but you, as the person who was responsible and who crashed the car, you're going to have to pay that amount over there. You're going to have to pay the excess, okay? So, yeah, the excess is an amount that you will pay only if something goes wrong. You don't have to pay that amount on the day. It's not the same as a deposit. A deposit you have to pay on the day and you'll get it back when you bring the car back. But an excess will only be charged if you damage the car, for example. Okay? Or sometimes what they'll do is you give them the 18,650, then you crash the car, then they're just going to take 17,000 Rand from this amount over here, and then they'll give you back whatever's left over. That's also sometimes something that they do. Okay, so it says write down the amount that he'll pay for excess, 17,000. Okay, now if Lexion uses company A and damages the car after being involved in an accident, calculate the amount that he will claim back from the deposit. So think about this. Lexion uses company A, crashes the car. He then takes the car back and it's all damaged and buckled and everything. And he says to them, hey guys, I've bought your car back. Can I please have my deposit? They're going to say, no. You damaged our car. So we are going to take 17,000 Rand away and we will give you whatever's left. So the amount of money that will be left will be 18,650 minus 17,000, and you will be left with 1,650 Rand. That is the amount that he will be able to get back. So it says calculate the amount that he will claim back from the security deposit. That is the amount that he will claim back. Okay? He'll tell them, okay, fine, I'm sorry I damaged your car. Take the 17,000, but give me back whatever's still left over, and that's the 1,650. Okay, now remember the questions carry on. We still have this one, and this one. Okay, right. So it says, give a reason why most car rental companies only rent out cars to people who have enough credit on their credit cards. Well, it's just a bit of a safety thing. You're not going to rent it out to someone who's, like, their credit card is completely, they've used up their credit card completely and they don't have any extra money. Because if something goes wrong, and let's say, for example, they steal the car, they're going to want to, they already have the deposit, but they're going to want to try to get more of the money back. But if the person doesn't have enough money on their credit card, they won't be able to get it back. So that is why they ask you to give a credit card, so that if anything goes wrong, they can actually take the money off that credit card immediately. Okay, so it's a safety for them. So, because otherwise, let's say someone rents a car and they've got no money on their credit card, then they crash the car. Not crash the car because they already have that in the deposit. But let's say for example, for example, in company A, you pay for how many kilometers you drive. You see how you pay here, 3 Rand, and then this is how many kilometers you are going to drive. But you only pay that when you get back. You only pay that when you get back to, or this might not be 3, I think it is 3 Rand. Yeah, 3 Rand. Okay, so it doesn't really matter, but for however far you drove, you're going to have to pay for all of that when you get back. Now, what happens if a person gets back there and they say, hi, Lexion, you need to pay us 2,300 or 2,000 or let's say 700 Rand for the amount of driving that you did. and they look at Lection's credit card and there's nothing. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to have to take Lection to court, and they're going to have to, and that's going to cost a lot of money, and they're just not going to get their money back. But by renting it out to someone who already has enough money on their credit card, it gives them they have a better chance of being safe. Okay, so we can say here, to ensure that they can recover any money as quickly as possible. Moving on, Lection traveled 950 kilometers for the 3 days that he hired the car. He stated that it would have been cheaper if he used company B instead of company A. For 5 marks, verify his statement. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go look at company A, and then we'll look at company B and see how much each one would have cost. So if he uses company A, he's going to pay this amount over here, plus. Now, they don't make it very clear in this question, and I found that a bit weird, but you need to somehow have known. Did they maybe tell us in the beginning? No, they didn't. So, yeah, that's really strange. But this is the number of kilometers that you drive. Number of kilometers driven. Okay? So we're going to say plus 3 multiplied by, now the number of kilometers is 950. So we're going to say 950 minus 600. Then go ahead and type that all in on the calculator. And what you would find is that company A would charge 3,390 Rand and 90 cents. Okay. Now for company B, you literally just pay a once-off amount. They don't charge you extra for the amount of driving that you do. So you're just going to pay 3220.65. Now, this number is larger than this number. So he is correct. That's company A, he says that he said it would have been cheaper if he used company B. That is correct. So we can say that the statement is valid. Now, that's not going to get you 5 marks. The 5 marks is by showing all of that. Okay? So, yeah. This one says, give a possible reason why there was a difference in the rental cost at the different times in January. So from the 5th to the 7th of January, that is the rental cost over there. And then between the 13th and the 16th, that is the rental cost over there. So can you see that it's cheaper over here? Now, one of the reasons could be that we know that around Christmas time, New Year's, people are on holiday. People are traveling, people are flying. There's lots of people touring different cities. And so there's going to be lots of demand for rental cars. So the way that any business makes money during those times is they simply put the price up. When demand increases, they can put the price up. Okay, whereas between the 13th and 16th, well, that is usually a time of year where everyone's gone back to work, back to school. There's not a lot of people on holiday, and so your demand for rental cars is not as much, and so they have to lower the prices. And so we could say here, there was a higher demand for rentals from 5th to 7th. The first thing I want to show you in this question is that we're going to have multiple questions that are going to carry on the next slide. So here we've got a first question, second question, number 3, number 4, and lastly, number 5 for 8 marks. Okay, so let's begin. So it says that write down the acronym for SARS. So it's South African. Okay, let's write this a bit better. African, and then revenue service. Well, technically it's services, okay, but I don't think that would be that strict. Okay, now the next one says, this question down here says, write down the number of tax brackets in the personal income tax table above. So let's actually see what's happening here. Employees contribute tax monthly through SARS. Chloe, who is a 51-year-old educator, earns this amount per month and contributes that percentage of her gross salary towards a pension fund. She also has a medical aid for herself, husband, and 2 children. The tax table below is used to calculate the amount each person will contribute according to his or her salary. Okay, so this question says, write down the number of tax brackets in the personal income tax table. Okay, well, here's your tax table. Now we've got different tax brackets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 different tax brackets. This question says, show by means of calculations how the minimum amount, 77362, which is the number we see here, was calculated or is calculated. Let me explain how tax tables work. Start at the very beginning, okay? And I want you to think about these people. These are people who earn anywhere between 1 Rand and 237,100. Now I want you to think of the person who earns the most amount of money in that tax bracket. So that would be the people who earn this amount over here. How much tax would they pay? Well, 18%. So you could say 18% of 237,100, and if you had to work that out, you're going to end up with 42,678. Okay, now if you enter into the next category, so these are the people who now earn from that amount up to that amount. So let's quickly do this. Now the first category went all the way up to 237,100. And how much tax did that person, if a person who makes that, pay? Well, 42,678. So let's now look at the person who makes 370,500. Okay, so we're going to go up to 370,500. So remember that person earns their money all the way from 0. Remember, you get paid all the way from 0, and then they're going all the way up to there. So they're going to have to pay this 42,678 because they, in the beginning of the year, when they first get their first paycheck, their income so far for the year is going to be fairly small. So it's going to be somewhere over here. And then it's going to build. So it's going to get to 42,678. Now, when they get into this new category, the tax percentage changes. It now changes to 26%. Okay? But can you see that they still have the 42678 over here? Because they're telling you that you're also going to pay that because you also were in this category. And now for all of the money from here up to here, that money there, you're going to pay 26%. So we need to try and see how much money is over here. Well, all you do is you just minus these two numbers from each other. So you just say 370,500 minus 237,100, and that'll give you 133,400. 133,400. So that is how much money is inside this category over here. That's not how much the person earns. The person earns that much, but from here to here, we're going to tax this amount here at a percentage of 26% and no longer 18%. So we're going to work out what is 26% of that number. So what is 26%? Let's do that calculation here. What is 26% of, what did we say? 133,400. Now if you work that out, you get 34684. 34684. So that is the amount of tax that you would pay in this bracket. So how much tax does this person pay altogether if they get up to here? Well, you just add these two numbers together, and that's, if you add those two numbers together, you are literally going to get that amount over there. And so what that means is that anyone who enters into this category, they have to pay this amount because they've made their way all the way up to there, and then any money after that, then they're going to tax that at 31%. So can you see that the tax percentage becomes more the more that you start earning? They start taxing you more on that. And so remember, if we then go add these two numbers together, so 34684 plus 42678, you would get 77362. So as a bit of practice, if you wanted to, you could go start right at the beginning and you could go all the way to the end, and you should see if you can get to this number over here. This question says, give the meaning of tax rebate. So here's tax rebate. Now, what a tax rebate is what SARS does is they look at how much tax do you have to pay. Okay, they'll work out your tax. Maybe it's like 100,000 rand or whatever, and then they give you a rebate. And it's just like you can think of it as they give you a bit of a discount. Okay, so if you are a normal primary person where you are, so you're not in the secondary or tertiary category, so you're still fairly young, they will minus 16,000 rand. So they'll say, hello, instead of paying us 100,000 rand tax, we will say you can subtract 16,425. So you only have to pay us like 83,000 and something. Okay, and then if you are a little bit older, they tell you, if you're older, it's actually even better. They take away this amount and they take away this amount. So like if you're 65 and older, they take away this amount and this amount. And then if you're 75 and older, they're going to take away this, and that. So it gets better and better the older you become. They reduce the amount of tax you have to pay. So we could say that it is the amount by which SARS reduces a person's tax liability, and then just say here, based on age. This question says, for 8 marks, woo! Chloe said that her monthly tax contribution is going to be, monthly, 3550.25. Verify showing all calculations whether her statement is correct. Okay, so there's many ways we can do this, but first of all, what you need to understand, listen to me carefully. One day you are going to be working and you're going to get paid. SARS is not going to look at all of your income and tax you on all of your income. They will allow you to pay some of your money towards a pension fund. So let's say, for example, you get paid 10,000 rand, or let's say you get paid 150,000 rand per year. Okay, this is an example, per year. SARS is not going to say, so now we're going to say 150,000 rand, and we're going to go put it in this table over here. No, what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, let's say this person's name is John. Let's say John paid towards a pension. What is a pension? Well, that's when you're putting money away so that you can have a retirement one day. When you go into retirement, you can receive some money when you're not working, like one day when you pass the age of 65 or whatever. So let's say John contributed 20,000 rand to a pension this year. How much money is John actually, so SARS is going to say, okay, John earned 150,000 rand, but he took 20,000 to put towards pension. So how much is left over? 130,000 rand. SARS is going to take that amount over there, and that's where they're going to go into your tax tables. Okay? There could have been other deductions as well. There could have been things like UIF, and other kinds of deductions. But in this example, I'm talking about a pension because they said here, a pension fund. They didn't talk about UIF and all of that. Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, is let's quickly see this lady. They tell us that she earns this amount per month. So let's just quickly see how much she earns per year. So per year, her gross salary will be 34,447.22 times 12, because there's 12 months in a year. So she earns 413,366.64 rand. That is what this lady earns per year. Okay? That is not the number that you're going to go use over here. We have not taken into account pension. So we're now going to see what is 7.5% of that. Some of you might have done this a bit differently to me. You might have said, what is 7.5% of that amount? And then you take that answer and multiply by 12. That is absolutely fine. You can also do it like that. So 7.5% of 413,366.64. Let's work this out. And that'll be 31,002 rand and 50 cents if you round off. So that is going into pension. So what we'll do now is we'll take this amount and we'll subtract this amount. Okay. And that'll be 382,364.14. All the deductions have now been taken place. We've taken care of pension, UIF. There wasn't any UIF, but we've done all the deductions. Now, this is the amount over here that we're now going to go into the table. So you got to think about, where does 382,364 put this lady? Well, it puts her somewhere in this category over here. Okay, so you don't have to start at the beginning, because remember, if you started over here, if you had to work out the maximum over here, you're just going to end up with this number. And if you had to work out the maximum inside this one, you're just going to end up with this number. So SARS has made it really nice. I was just showing you earlier, when I was going through all those examples over here, I was just showing you how they get these numbers. Okay, but if you know where you are on the table, you can actually just start over there. Because remember, this number comes from the previous ones. So you don't have to work from the beginning in a situation like this. So it says that she's going to pay this much tax, so 77,362 plus, now here's the important part, 31% of all of the income that is above that amount. So we need to see how much above is she. Well, if you take 382, so let's actually do that first. Let's say 382,364.14 minus 370,500. You get 11,864.14. So the amount of tax she's going to pay is going to be this number here plus 31% of the amount that is over 370,500, and we just worked out that that is it over there. Okay, if you work this out, you get 81,039.88 rand. Now that is not her total tax that she's going to pay. Why? Because now we can use tax rebates. So, is she in the primary category? Yes, everyone's in the primary category. Is she in the secondary category, 65 and older? Nope, she's only 51. So we're just going to use the primary. So we're going to, because remember guys, a rebate is a nice thing. She would have had to pay 81,000 rand to SARS, but SARS is saying, okay, we'll take off 16,000 rand. So we're going to say 039.88 minus the first rebate. Okay. Now we're also going to minus a few other things. For example, she has a medical aid. It says here that she also has medical aid for herself, her husband, and her 2 children. But now something you got to be careful of when you're doing these ones is that these are per month. These are per month. So remember, we are busy looking at her per year at the moment. Okay, so that's very important. These are all per year. These are per year, and this is per year, but then these are per month. So you've got to be careful. So we're going to take off 347, but then we're going to say times 12 because there's 12 months in a year. That's for her. She's the taxpayer. Then for her husband, who's the first dependent, you see how it said here, herself, her husband, and her 2 children. So we're going to say minus 347 rand for him for 12 months. And then 234 rand times 12. That's for the first child. And then it says she has 2 children. So we're going to do it. 234 times 12. Aha. Now you're going to go take all of this, type it on the calculator, and how much tax does this lady have to pay for the year? Let's see. If we've done that all correctly, we should be ending up with 50670.88. Now that is per year. So now we're going to take that and we're going to take it back to a per month. And so we're going to divide that answer by 12. And we end up with 4,222 rand and 57 cents. That is the amount of tax that this lady's going to pay. She said 3550. She got it wrong. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but Kevin, what if you made a mistake? Guys, I'm always going to check the memo after I do this to make sure I haven't made a small mistake. Okay. So I did check the memo and that number is correct. Okay. So this lady has made a mistake. So show whether her statement is correct. So we can end this by saying her statement is not correct. The first thing I want to mention with this question is that the questions do carry on the next slide. So it's these two over here, and then there's this one, and then we've got these three over here. So 6 questions in total for this one. The table below shows the estimates on the number of full-time employees per quarter from June 2018 to September 2022. Okay, so let's just quickly see what's happening here. We've got 2018, and they've got June, September, December. Then they've got 2020, March, June. Okay, we get that. Okay, so they're showing us the different years. They've got some months. And then they're saying number of employees in thousands. So this would be actually 1,134,000. So these are millions. Okay. Then it says change in number of employees in thousand. Okay. And then it says percentage change. Okay, so it's a bit of a weird thing for now. It doesn't make perfect sense, but let's see the questions. So it says identify the month and the year that had the lowest number of full-time employees. Okay, so that one we're just going to go to the full-time, and we're just going to look for the smallest number over here. Okay, so the smallest one I can see so far, I might see a smaller one, 1036. Let me just double check. No, that's it. So it's going to be this one over here. Now it says identify the month and the year. So that is going to be June of 2020. So we can say June 2020. This question says, give the number of full-time employees for the third quarter of 2022 to the nearest million. Now we need to talk about quarters of a year. So we know that we have 12 months. So we've got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Now, to break those up into quarters, then every 3 months you would break it up. There we go. So we call this the first quarter of the year, Q1. This is the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Remember, quarters are into fours. So it says give the number of full-time employees for the third quarter. Okay, third quarter. So that's the July, August, or September months for the year 2022. So 2022, there's no July, there's no August, but there is a September. So it'll be this one over here. But now be careful. These are in thousands. So we're going to go 1097,000. Now that is a million. And then 97,000. So they said to the nearest million. So are we going to round that to 1 million or 2 million? Well, that'll just stay at 1 million. So we're just going to go 1 million like that. This question says, for 4 marks, calculate the percentage change. And they've given us a formula for that, so don't stress. Correct to 1 decimal. Okay, we must remember that. In the number of employees from June 2020. So June 2020. So that's here. Don't go here because that's 2018. So it's June 2020 and to September 2020. Okay, so we're just going to look at these two numbers over here. Now, we're just going to use this formula. So the new value will be the one that comes later. So that'll be September. Okay, so we're just going to go percentage change is equal to the new value. Now, you don't have to change it to millions now. It will still give us the same answer because we're just looking at the percentage change. So whether we add the million or not doesn't make a difference. But if you want to, you can. But then you must do it for all of them. You must do it for this number and this number. Okay, so I'm going to just keep it as it is. So it's 1039 minus the old value, which is 1036, divided by the old value, which is 1036, multiplied by 100%. Okay, so type it in on your calculator just like that. There are things that can go wrong here if you type it in a weird way. Okay. Like some learners do this. They go 1039 minus 1036. Whoa, what the heck happened there? 1036 divided by 1036 times 100%. This is going to give you a totally different answer because according to BODMAS, it's only going to divide these two numbers. Okay? And that's why we rather just write it as they've got it here. Okay, and then we times that by 100, Oh, you don't have to put the percentage sign. My bad. Yeah, I don't know why they do that, because some learners will put the percentage sign, and yeah, it's silly. They should just say times 100 so that it will give you a percentage. Okay. And so and now they said to one decimal place. So we get 0.28957, blah, blah, blah. Now to round that off, we're going to round this number. Now that number is either going to stay as a 2 or it's going to go up to a 3. So the way that we do it is we look at this number. That number is large, it's 5 or more, so it's going to make it go to a 3. So we're going to get an answer of 0.3%. Write down the modal value from March 2020, okay, all the way to September 2022. Okay, so they want to know what is the modal value over here. The modal value is just the number that appears the most. So what number do you see happening the most often? Now, I was looking at this for a few seconds and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. There's no modal value. But then I look on the memo and there is no modal value. Remember, a modal value is like this: 3, 5, 5, 6, 8, and 10. Now, some learners, they're like, oh, that's the mode because it's the most. No, the modal or the mode is the number that you see the most. So that would be the 5. The 5, you can see it happens twice. So if you look here, there is no number that appears more than once. So there is no modal value. No modal value. This question says, give one reason why the number of full-time employees decline in any industry. They don't mean that the number of employees are just going to decrease the whole time. They're just saying why do the numbers decrease? And that's mainly because of retirement. Every year there are new people entering the job market, but then there are also people exiting the job market. So if we have a specific period where there are more people retiring compared with people who are beginning to work, then we will have a decline in the number of employees. So we could say here retirement, or let's say people reaching retirement. People reaching retirement. Okay, this question. Give the reason why the other values are written in brackets. Whenever we have brackets on a document like this, like an invoice or anything like that, it's usually to mean a negative. That's what it means. It means negative. So for example, if you go from 1141 to 1152, to go from that number to that number, you have to add 11. To go from this number to this number, you have to add 7. To go from this number to this number, you have to minus 73. So brackets are there to represent a negative. So let's just say here, they are negative. Okay, so with this question, I tried to fit everything in as best as possible. So it says here, 2 samples were used in a research. One from people using smartphones and the other from people using tablets. Study the results in the table below and answer the questions that follow. So the first question says, calculate the value of C. Now, if you look carefully, all of these percentages add up to 100. And so, because percentages add up to 100 in these types of scenarios. So all of these percentages should add up to 100. So we could then work out the value of C by saying 100 minus 15 minus 3 minus 13 minus 4 minus 8. And if we do that, we end up with 57%. So the value of C is 57%. 57%. On answer sheet 1, which is this one over here, an incomplete graph for the smartphones and tablets are drawn. Complete the graph by drawing the missing columns. Okay, so for example, if we begin here at the bottom, we can see it's games, and here we have games. Now, I know that this might be a little bit small, but this here says smartphones. So the smartphones are the dark gray, almost black bars, whereas these ones are the tablet. That's the light gray. Okay, that's your light gray. So what we can see is that for the games, we've got smartphones here at 35%, just like we do over here. So what we need to go and fill in is the tablets at 57%. So 57% would go, now you got to see here, here's 50, here's 60, and then there's a line over here, so that's 52, 54, 56, 58. So 57 would be there. So we're going to go all the way up to there, okay? So we're just going to extend this line. Obviously, you guys would have a nice ruler, and then extend there. And so that would be, and just do it exactly the way that they've done it, okay? So put the number at the end here, 57%. Oh, I'm battling to squeeze that in, 57%. Okay, so we've done that one. If we go to social networking, both numbers are there, you see? Now, if we go to utilities, we can see that the tablets is there. We can see the 3% over there. But we need to do the smartphones. Now, do the smartphones underneath, because that's what they've done. You see, the smartphones is always underneath. So follow their template. So the smartphone utilities is 20%. So 20% is on this line. So that's going to be up to here. So we're going to go there and there. Okay, and then there, and then put 20%. Now, if we go up to music and videos, which is this one over here, we can see that they've already got the 8% one, which is the smartphones. So we need to do the tablet, which is 13%. So this is 0, this is 10. So we're going to look between 10 and 20. So I know it's not very clear, but there's a line there. So that's 12, 14, 16, 18, and then 20. So 12 and 14 is there. So it would be in between those two. Now, when you had this in front of you in an exam, or if you have a ruler, it's going to be much easier for you. Okay, so here's 12, here's 14. So we're going to go there. Okay, and then we're going to do the gray bar on top. There we go. And then we're going to say, how much is that? 13%. Okay, and then for the news, they've done all of that, 3 and 4%. And then for other, which is this last one, we've got the smartphones at 5%, as we can see over here. But then we've got tablets at 8% that we need to go for in. So 8% is going to be over here, which is over here. And so that's there. So that's going to be 8%. There are two types of jobs, least stressful and most stressful, with their salaries displayed on the graph plotted in Annexure A. Here is Annexure A. Okay? Now it says, use the information on Annexure A and answer the questions that follow. So let's just quickly check here. These are the most stressful jobs. So we've got things like being a firefighter. That is stressful. When you're in a building, that's pretty stressful. A police and a patrol officer, that's stressful because it's dangerous. You might have, people robbing a bank and you have to go, shoot them, and it can get quite dangerous. A corporate executive, yep, there's a lot of pressure on them. A surgeon, if you're doing surgery, that can be very stressful. If you're doing like a heart surgery, for example. Being a waiter, yep, that could be, you could get really clients or people at your restaurant that are not very friendly. They're very rude. And guys, I'm going to take this time and just, I've observed the world around me, and some people are just really rude to other people, and we never know what the people around us are actually going through. So do your best to never be rude to people. Of course, you and your friends can sometimes tease each other. I know how you guys are in high school. I remember being in high school. It can get ruthless at times when you're teasing your friends, but as long as, there's that understanding that we're friends and we're just teasing each other. But I'm talking about I saw a video the other day on social media where these people, they arrive at a petrol station, and it's a lady who's busy putting the petrol into their car, and they're driving a very fancy car. It's it's a beautiful car, and the person who's asking to put the petrol in, the driver of the car, or the person one of the passengers, after the petrol gets put into the car, they just open the window and they just chuck the money on the floor, and the lady, the petrol attendant, you actually see in the video when they drive off, she starts crying. And it's things like that, guys, like being rude to people, or if you go into, I don't want to go into more examples, but just be aware that you just try to be as loving as you can to the world around you, and not to be absorbed into your own mind and life and think that you are the most important person. Don't ever have that mindset. If you want to be someone who's working hard and you want to be wealthy and stuff, that's great, but do it in a good way. Don't have this arrogant mindset where you're better than everyone. So yeah, I don't know if anyone needed to hear that, but just be loving to the world around you, and your life will be a lot more happy. Okay, so how did I get onto that? Oh, stressful jobs. Oh yes, a waiter could have bad clients. Yeah, so if you go out to a restaurant, be friendly to the waiter. Don't see them as there to serve you. They are there to serve you, but you can also just meet them at a human level, okay? You can treat them with love, and you can be friendly to them, and you're not better than them. You're never going to be better than anyone. So just remember that. No matter what you've achieved in life, you are not better than anyone, okay? So, yeah. Right. So I challenge you, even people who, for example, if you've got your waiter or anyone in life, whether it's the person putting petrol in, treat them like they're the most important person in the world, and watch how you put a smile on their face. And that's amazing. So it says, use the information on Annexure A and answer the questions that follow. Identify another type. Okay, so it says here, identify another type of graph that can be used to display the stressful jobs salaries. Okay, identify another type of graph that can be used to display the stressful job salary. Okay, well, what we've learned about is that we get two types of data. You get discrete and you get continuous. Now, discrete is data that you can count, whereas continuous is data that you measure. Now, when you're looking at someone's salary, that is not counting, that is measuring. When you say counting, that's like when you count the number of cars driving past. But when you measure, then it's things like height, salary, weight, things like that. So when you have continuous data, the two main ways that we show it on graphs is a line graph, which is what we have here, and then we can also use histograms. Histograms are the ones that don't have any gaps between the bars. Ooh, what happened there? Sometimes there's a gap in between this part here at the first place. So we could go with a histogram. If it was discrete data, then we usually use a bar graph or something like a pie chart. Okay, so it says identify from the graph two jobs that deal with health issues. Identify from the graph. Okay, so it's any graph, hey? Okay, yep. So health issues. Well, okay, I just want to read all of them. Okay. Okay, well, I guess a surgeon, yeah, that could be something related to a health issue. And then an optometrist with your eyes, that could also be related to a health issue. So I would go with surgeon and optometrist. And then another one could be, where did I say it? Oh, here, a biomedical engineer. See, it's got the word medical in it. They do deal with medical things. So biomedical engineer. This question says, determine the probability as a percentage of randomly selecting an employee earning a salary of more than $70,000. Okay, so it says determine the probability of randomly selecting. Okay, so they're not telling us how many people are in each job, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We've got 20 types of jobs, and it says what is the probability of randomly selecting an employee who earns more than 70,000? Well, out of the 20 different types of jobs, so we know probability, you always put the total at the bottom. Now we need to go find all the people who earn more than 70,000. So all the kinds of jobs. So this one, for example, earns 41,000. This one is 49,000. This one's 105. So we'll choose that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we won't choose any of those because they're all lower than 70,000. This one's higher. 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 This one's higher, and this one's higher. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're going to say 12 out of 20 multiplied with 100 because they've asked us as a percentage. So go ahead, type that all in, and you should get 60%. 60%. This last one says, convert the highest salary on the least stressful jobs. Okay, so the least stressful jobs, let's just get rid of this. The highest salary is this one. What is that? That is for a optometrist. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, you might think an optometrist earns more than a surgeon, but remember, this is using a different scale. This one's going 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. This one's going 50, 100, 150. So the surgeon's 302,000. The optometrist is 106,000. Okay, so don't let that ever mislead you. You must always look carefully. So it says convert the highest salary, which is this one, on the least stressful jobs graph to the nearest million, given that $1 is 18 Rand and 42 cents. So what they're saying is that this is measured in dollars. Can you see here? US dollars. So this person earns 106,960 US dollars per year. These are per year, guys. I know they didn't say so, but trust me, those are per year. So $106,960. They want us to convert that to Rand. Now we know that $1 is 18 Rand 42. So all we're going to do is just multiply this by 18.42. Okay, and that's going to give us, sure, it's quite a nice salary per year, 1970203.20, but now they've asked it for the nearest million. So is that going to go to what? This is 1.9 million. So that's very close to 2 million. So we will round that off to 2 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the optometrist is earning 2 million Rand per year. For those of you that are interested, on a monthly basis, that's about 167,000. That's pretty decent. So that's it. With this question, we do have a few more questions on the next slide. So here we've got this one, and then we've got these two over here. All right, some decent questions here. 4 marks, 5 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks. Pretty decent. Ivan received his home insurance calculations. Study the statement below and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so SASRIA stands for South African Special Risk Insurance Association. Okay, Ivan received his home insurance calculations. Okay, so let me explain. One day when you have a house, you could ask your parents about this. Sometimes you have to have your house insured. For example, especially in places like, I don't know, like California, for example, in America, where they often have fires. Now, they're going to ask you to have your house insured because if a fire breaks out, well, you need to have insurance because otherwise, you need to get paid out, right? So sometimes your house can have insurance. So SASRIA is a state-owned entity that provides coverage for damage caused by special risks such as politically motivated strikes and public disorders. Write down the total premium amount, including VAT, in cents. Give your final answer in words. Okay, write down the total premium amount. Okay, so here's the total premium amount. It already includes VAT. Okay, so they're actually just asking us to change this to cents. Okay, so write down the total premium and then give your final answer in words. Oh my word. Okay, so 5309.21. So we know that if you have a 1 Rand coin, that is the same as 100. Let's rather write it like that, 100 cents. If you have 5 Rand, well, that's the same as 500 cents. So to go from Rand to cents, you multiply by 100. So to take this 2 cents, we just multiply by 100. So we're going to say 5309.21 multiply by 100, and that'll be 530921 cents. I'm going to write here cents. Now it says write it in words. So when you write it in words, I have made a video on this before, but what I always tell learners to do is start at the back and break your number up into groups of 3. So if you originally had this, then start at the back and break it up into groups of 3. Okay, so that's going to be 530 and then 921. So what you do is you write this number out first. That's an easy one, 530. Just that number, 530. So 530. Okay, then you look at how many digits are coming after that. So how many digits do you see after that? 3. 3 means 1,000. So just say 1,000. Okay, so we've done this part. Now you just go write out this number. 921. Okay, that's it. And then we should probably say cents, because yeah, cents. Okay, express the admin fee as a percentage of the total premium, including VAT. Okay, so just look at this carefully. You've got a homeowner's building price, then they've got a Sasria price. Okay, so if you add those two numbers together, that gives you the subtotal. Okay, then there is the admin fee, which goes over here, and then you get your total. But now you've got to be careful. So there's a little catch here. This number is excluding VAT, but now all of these are including VAT. So we need to quickly add VAT to this over here. So I don't know why they don't mention this, but yeah, this was in 2023, so the VAT is 15%. Okay, so remember, to add VAT onto a number, you multiply it by 1 point and then 1.5 because it's 15% VAT. So we're going to say 4529.86 multiplied by 1.15, and to 2 decimal places, that'll be 5209.34. So that is not this number, that is this number over here, 5209.34. So it's just this number with VAT, because you can't do a calculation with these two and these two and these ones or those ones when some of them have VAT and some of them don't. So what we've now done is we've said, okay, that's the price with VAT. This is the total price. So then we can see how much must this be, because we know that this one plus this one gave us this number. Then we just added the VAT on, and now we just need to see how do we go from this number to this number, or sorry, this one, and that must be the admin fee. So we can now say 5309.21 minus 5209.34, and if we subtract those, we get, and so that would be 99 Rand 87. So that would be the admin fee. But now we're not done. They want us to express the admin fee as a percentage of the total premium. So here's the total premium, and here's the admin fee. So remember, if you write a test out of 50 and you get 31 out of 50, how do you work out your percentage? You take the total at the bottom, what you got at the top, and then you multiply it by 100. So here we can say the total at the bottom, 5309.21. What did you get? 99.87, because that's the admin fee, times by 100. And if we do that, we get 1.88%. 1.88%. Determine the monthly premium to the nearest Rand that Ivan will pay. Okay, let's just try to understand that. Ivan received, study the statement below. Oh, this is an annual premium. Okay, so this is the annual. That means per year. That is per year. So it says determine the monthly premium that Ivan will pay. So this is what Ivan pays per year. So we will just take that number, 5309.21, divide that by the number of months in a year, which is 12. And that would be 442.43 Rand. Now they said round it to the nearest Rand. So the nearest Rand is going to be 442 Rand. And then this last one says, determine the total VAT paid on this policy. Okay, so the total VAT paid on the policy. Let's have a look. Well, you see that. Now, I was a bit confused when I saw this because it's for 4 marks. So the memo went and did this whole long calculation, but I don't think they realized that you don't have to go work out each one, for example. We know what the total is. That's the total, 5309.21. And we know that, remember that those formulas I've showed you, to add VAT, you multiply by 1.15. To take VAT away, you divide by 1.15. Right, remember these formulas here. So we already have the VAT. So we want to take the VAT away. So we're going to divide that by 1.15. And so we're going to say 5309.21 divided by 1.15. And that would be 4616.70. Now that's not the VAT. That's just the price without the VAT. So you just minus these two numbers now. So 5309.21 minus 4616.70. And that'll give you 692.51, and that is exactly the answer that they have on the memo as well. Now, if you do a question like this and you have a simplified way of doing it compared to what they did, they will give you the marks, okay? Because they maybe didn't realize when they were setting up the memo that there was a better way. So they won't penalize you for doing it in a more elegant way.